Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Keeneland Racecourse here on Saturday. It is the 5th of November 2022. It's Breeders Cup Saturday, and we're going to look at all the Breeders Cup races on today's program. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5 for more selections for racecourses around the world, and I mean it around the world. Let's look at all Saturday's Breeders Cup races 3 through 11, starting off with the third race, which is the Breeders Cup Filly Mare Sprint. It's a grade 1 event going for that $1 million purse. A race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 13 horses, a baker's dozen going to the Keeneland dirt track, the distance of ground of 1,400 meters, or the distance of ground of 7 furlongs on the Keeneland main track. 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs here in the filly mare sprint. And I show the diagram. Just gives me a second to look down my notes. Just bear with me. As a top selection, I'm going to take the 5-horse Frank's Roquette. Let's go 5'8", 413 in the superfecta. 5'8", 413 super. That's my top 4 basically, but my top selection is the 5-horse Frank's Roquette. This 5-year-old mare by Into the Mischief. Belmont trains. Luis Saez gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 26th of August at Charlestown. 7 furlongs in the Pink Ribbon Stakes on the bull ring. The horse won by 6 lengths, and she finally found her winning ways. She basically stalked that day. She was a little bit wide, but when she got to the front end and quickened up, she got the job done. A very good race, earning a 104 buyer. I thought that was a good confidence builder. She wasn't winning in the previous starts, but she was running these terrific races. She's run her last 3 have been triple-digit buyers. You know, she's been running great races in defeat. And an honorable miss before that, Saratoga going 3/4. She finished second by a half length. She sat back. She had the lead. She got caught late. What can you do? Kamari just had the jump on her, but she ran her heart out there. And then the vagrancy handicap at Belmont going 6.5. She finished second by nose. Again, just missed dueling that day. Not a bad run at all. And then the seasonal reappearance in the carousel at Oakland over the 6. Finished second by a half a length that day. And she probably needed the run there. Just a little bit flat, closing up from nowhere. But she's been training very well on the Oklahoma training track at Saratoga. Coming here today off some decent runs as of recently. I'm going to give her a massive shot here. I think you also have to give a shot to the 8-horse here, who is Goodnight Olive. 4-year-old filly by Go Zapper. Chad Brown trays. Iritis Jr. gets the mount. First start against stakes quality horses came the Ballerina most recently at Saratoga. 7 furlongs, 28th of August. And the horse won by 2 1/4 lengths that day. And basically from wide trip, the horse didn't break so well. Got bumped hardly out of the gate. But she settled well after that. She stalked, she got the lead, and she got the job done. A very good run. She's lost once. That came earlier last year at Gulfstream, going 6 furlongs in main special weight, where she just, just never really showed up there from a track position. But after that, she broke the main here at Keeneland last fall, came back to win the lounge race at Aqueduct very nicely last fall, and basically, since the beginning of the year, since running in the seasonal reappearance of Belmont, where she won by 5.5 lengths, she's definitely been on the improve. She's going to have to overcome wide post draw, but out of her 6 starts, she's basically overcome wide post draws in 4 of them. So coming here today, it wouldn't surprise me if she gets a good trip and ends up in the winner's circle. And it wouldn't surprise me at all either if the 4-horse CC, who won this race last year, shows up to run a good race. But this year, her form's been not as good as last year. Her best race of the season, I thought, came in that Princess Rooney at Gulfstream going 7, where she won by 6.5. Basically a very easy run. Came back to a disappointing 5th in the Ballerina. And the Chillingsworth at Santa Anita, she was facing a little lesser quality horses, but she did get the job done there. I thought last year her campaign was a lot better coming to this race than this year. But 4 to 1, it wouldn't surprise me if the old lady shows up. We'll definitely use her in that pick 3 that begins with this race. But to recap my selection for the third from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. Let's take the 5-horse Frank's Roquette as a top selection. We'll give kudos to the 8-horse here, Goodnight Olive, and the 4-horse CC. 5'8", 413 super, 5'8", 4 in your multi-race. To race number 4 now. The 4th race from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. It's a grade 1 event going for $1 million purse. Races for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field here of 16 horses entered, but keep in mind, only 14 could go to the turf course. The distance of ground here of 1,100 meters, or 5 1/2 furlongs on the Keeneland turf course. 1,100 meters, 5 1/2 furlongs here in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. My top selection, I'm going to go take the 1-horse Creative Force. Let's go 111.84 in the superfecta. 111.84 super. Top selection, 1-horse Creative Force. This 4-year-old gelding by DeBowie. Charlie Outby trains. William Buick gets the leg up. The horse's most recent outing came the 15th of October at Ascot. Soft ground, 6 furlongs in the Group 1 British Champion Sprint Stakes. And the horse finished third by 2.5 lengths that day. And, he does a lot better on firm ground. On the soft ground, he just never really got going. He never quick enough from a tracking position. He never weakened out of it either, but like I said, I just don't think he got a good handle of the ground. Coming here second off the bench, back to fast ground, which I think he should absolutely adore. I think he could find a good trip to win here today. Two back in the Group 1 July Cup at Newmarket, 6 furlongs on the July course on the 9th of July. Said July a little bit too many times in that last sentence, but he finished fourth by 3 3/4 lengths that day, and he just never really got there from the back of the pack. He just was just flat. It wasn't his day to win. And then prior to that, in the Group 1 Platinum Jubilee at Ascot, 6 furlongs, 18th of June. He finished second by a neck that day. And again, he sat back early. He really closed up well behind Naval Crown. He ran his heart out there first back from Dubai. And then before that, in the Alquaz Sprint at Maidan, 6 furlongs, 20th of May, 26th of March. He finished 14th by 9.5 lengths that day. And again, he needed the race there. He completely crumbled there late. He won on soft ground last year in the British Champions Stakes at Ascot, where he basically won from a very good tracking position, but I think he likes the faster ground. He's going to get it today. Watch out for him here. I think you also have to use the 11 horse. The 11 horse Casa Creed, this 6-year-old horse now by Jimmy Creed. Belmont trains. Luis Saez gets him out. Most recently routing in the Keeneland Turf Mile on the 8th of October here. He finished 5th by 2 lengths that day, and he sat back early, a little bit wide. He just couldn't get the good turn of foot late, but he ran his heart out. But since bringing him from a routing trip to a sprinting trip, he's really run a lot better. He did win routing last time out though at Saratoga, going 1 mile in the 4-star Dave handicap, winning by 1.5 lengths from a tracking position, closing up from nowhere. He found a good pace to run with. I thought it was a very good race. And then prior to that, in the 6 furlong Jaipur at Belmont, 6 furlongs on that Widener turf course, win by a half length, closing up from nowhere. I thought it was a good race. He'll see a good pace to run with. He should get a good trip on the outside draw. Watch out for him late at 6-1. Be kind of cool for this old man to get to the winner's circle. And I think you also have to give kudos to the 8 horse here. The 8 horse Golden Pal. Basically, I think one of the fastest horses on the card, but can the speed hold up? Won the Woodford here at Keeneland last time out, going 5.5 very easily. Won the Troy, probably need the race in that Troy at Saratoga, where he won by a head. He just couldn't, he won, but the second place finisher True Valor was coming to this horse late, and then the King's Stand basically wasn't Ivor Ortiz's smartest performances. Didn't break so well, was rushed to the front end, and it was just not a recipe for success there. But won the Shakertown, won last year's Breeders' Cup turf sprint, won the Woodford before that. Loves his turf course, the home base, 4 for 4 on it. It wouldn't surprise me if this horse wins by a country mile. It's 2-1, but in a race like this, I think there could be other obstacles to overcome, but like I said, wouldn't surprise me if he wins. But to recount my selection for the 4th from Keeneland Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, let's take the 1 horse Creative Force, give kudos to the 11 horse here Casa Creed, and the 8 horse Golden Pal. 111.84 Super, 111.8 in your multi-race. To race number 5. The 5th race from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. It's a Grade 1 event going for $1 million purse, races for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field here of, 11 horses going to the Keeneland main track, the distance of ground of 1,600 meters, or 1 mile on the Keeneland main track. 1,600 meters, 1 mile here in the Dirt Mile. And with the long run-up they have before they time the race, basically this race is almost a mile 70 yards, if not closer to a mile 16. So just keep that in mind when you handicap the race. Keep in mind also they're starting near the original or the finish post, and they're ending at the 16th pole. So it's the alternate finish race. So just keep that in mind. And I'm gonna go get a little wacky with this race with the top selection. I'm gonna take the 1 horse Slow Down Andy. I'm gonna go 1-7-3-5 in the superfecta. 1-7-3-5 super. Top selection 1 horse Slow Down Andy. 3-year-old colt by Nyquist. Doug O'Neill trains. Mario Gutierrez gets him out. He's 30-1 here. Most recently in the Awesome Again at Santa Anita, mile and 8th on the 1st of October. He finished 3rd by 2.25 lengths that day, and he had a horrible beginning, which cost him. He was quarter horse to the front end. He was very ranked that day. He just couldn't keep up with the 2 in front of him, but he ran his heart out, I thought, that day. Coming here, he's going to have to improve a little little bit that today, but these mile races tend to be more speed-orientated horses from the rail. I think he has a lot of speed, and I think his speed could hold up today. He definitely did improve even with that horrible race last time out in the Awesome again. He jumped up 10 buyer points from his previous best race, which was race 4 on turf in the Del Mar Derby, mile and the 8th on the lawn on the 3rd of September. He won by a half a length that day, and he basically put on a show, walked on the front end, he quickened up nicely, and he got the job done. A very good, easy run from the rail. And then before that, in the real good deal stakes at Del Mar, 7 furlongs, 5th of August, he finished second by 1/4 lengths that day. He was a little bit wide, and he just couldn't catch the winner, who just had the jump on him, but he ran his heart out there. And then the Los Al Derby at Los Alamitos, a mile and the 8th on the 9th of July. He finished second by 1/3 lengths that day, and he probably needed the race. He was on the front end. He was lugging in, just a little bit of a tired horse there. And then he was on the Derby Trail earlier in the year. Actually ran the Risen Star, where he ran a disappointing 6 from a stupidly wide post route, drawn 10 of 10. He was wide throughout, which cost him. Came back to run in the Sunland Derby at Sunland Park over the mile and the 8th, where he won by half a length from a tracking position, a little bit drifting that day, but he got the job done. His workout patterns aren't half bad. It wouldn't surprise me from the inside if he gets a good trip and goes wire to wire here, basically walking it. We're going to use him along with the 7-horse Cody's Wish. This 4-year-old colt by Curlin, Belmont trains. Junior Alvarado gets the mount. Most recently at Saratoga in the Forgo, he won by 1/4 lengths, closing up from nowhere, beating Jackie's Warrior at home. He basically put on a show, a 112 buyer. That was a very good performance. Before then, the Hanshin Cup at Churchill on the 4th of July over the mile, he won by a neck, again, closing up from nowhere, a 102 buyer, a very good run. And then on the slop at Belmont on Derby Day, 1 mile in the Westchester, winning by 5. Again, very, very good runs. He's going to go around 2 turns. His 2-turn races are a little subpar, but going to a 1-turn, but going to the shorter stretch, I think it could suit him a little bit better than a normal 2-turn kind of race. Training well at Saratoga, we'll give him a shot on the ticket. And I think also you have to just watch out for the 3-horse Pipeline for Flavian Pratt and Chad Brown. Two back, the horse ran in the Monmouth Cup, where he finished second by 1/4 lengths. Just wasn't getting that final 8th of a mile at Monmouth. Came back to run a disappointing 3rd in the Forgo, where I thought this horse was just didn't save enough ground there. But if he could run a race like he did 3 back at Aqueduct, going a mile, where he won by 9, he could definitely put on that show that you need to win here today. If he runs some of the races like he did, even in defeat earlier last year, he could definitely win against these horses. At 8-1, a definite use in your pick 4. But to recount my selection for the 5th from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Going to take the 1-horse Slow Down Andy as a prize play as in the top selection. Give kudos to the 7-horse Cody's Wish and the 3-horse Pipeline. 1735 Super, 173 in your multi-race. So now let's get to race number 6 from Keeneland. The 6th race from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. It's a Grade 1 event going for a $2 million purse. Races for fillies, mares, 3-year-olds, and upwards. We have a field here of a dozen horses going to the Keeneland Turf course. The distance of ground of 1,900 meters, or a mile and 3/16 on the Keeneland Turf course. 1,900 meters, mile 3/16 here in the Filly Mare Turf. My top selection, I'm going to go take the number 4 horse here above the curve. Let's go 4935 in the superfecta. 4935 Super, top selection of 4 horse above the curve. 3-year-old filly by American Pharaoh. Joseph O'Brien trains this one. John Velasquez gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 2nd of October at Longchamp, a mile and a quarter on soft ground in the Group 1 Prix de l'Opera, and he finished 3rd by 3/4 length that day, and stalked a quick pace early on the demanding or slow pace on the demanding ground that day. Just couldn't get there late. The 2 in front of him had the jump on him, but it didn't run half bad. Coming stateside, he's going to see a quicker pace, going to get the fast ground, and has a good post draw. I think the horse could really improve and get a good race and find the winner's circle today. 2 back in the Group 2 Blandford Stakes at the Curragh, yielding ground a mile and a quarter the 11th of September. He won by a neck that day, and from a tracking position, this horse slowly moved his way up. He got the job done, and he got the job done doing as little as possible when he got the lead, shall I add. Looked like he just wanted to give it up, but he held on to the victory. And then prior to that, in the Group 1 Prix Saint Honoré at Longchamp, a mile and a quarter, 29th of May, winning by a length that day. Again, a little bit wide that day, but he got the lead and held on to a very nice victory, beating some decent fillies in that run. And then before that, in the Stakes at Chester over the mile 7/16 in the Cheshire Oaks, finished 2nd by a neck that day. And again, just couldn't keep up. Maybe the mile and a half was or nearly a mile and a half was just a little bit too long. But again, the mile 3/16 is the preferred trip, and I think the horse could find the winner's circle. So we'll use her along with the 9 horse here. the number 9 horse, who is, let's see, Rougier. This affiliated by Territories. Chad Brown trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. Most recently, they took the horse to Toronto to run in the EP Taylor at Woodbine. A mile and a quarter on that EP Taylor turf course, winning by a neck that day. Horse had a trouble trip coming from nowhere that day, but he got the job done up late, earning a 96 buyer. Not the fastest race stateside for this horse or on this continent, but she still got the job done. Before then, the Beverly D at Churchill, mile and eighth, put an X through the race. She finished 5th by 5 3/4 lengths that day. That weird turf course, you either handle it or don't. She just wasn't handling it there. And then the Diana at Saratoga over the mile and eighth on the melon. She finished 4th by 3/4 length. Horrible break that day. Horrible trip. A little bit wide. She just never really got going. And then before then, the New York at Belmont over the mile and a quarter. She finished 5th by 2 lengths. The Bleecker Street, the stablemate, really put on a show that day. This horse, just wasn't closing up with that very slow pace there. 116 or 113. What was it? 3/4. 116 and 2 to 3/4. You have to, be a credible horse, incredible horse to close up from nowhere to win there, and she just wasn't that incredible that day. And this first start for the Brown Barn came in the Bugay at Belmont, a mile 16th on the inner at Belmont. She won by 3 lengths, a little bit wide, but she closed up to get the job done. She ran this race last year where she had a very troubled trip on that very tight Delmar turf course, but this turf course is not nearly as tight. You can get a better trip here. It wouldn't surprise me if she gets the job done at 12 to 1, and also wouldn't surprise me here if the number 6 horse gets the job done. Miss Encine, excuse me, not Miss Encine, the number, where are we? If it wouldn't surprise me if the 3 horse Nishawa gets the job done, not Miss Encine, the wrong page. But 3 filled by Frankel. John Gosden trains. Holly Doyle gets the mount. The horse's best race of the season was in the Prix de Diane, where the horse won by a neck. Came back to run a very good victory in the Nassau at Glorious Goodwood, and came back to run in the Prix de la Oprah, where she just couldn't get there. Like, she just kind of was a little bit flat. Might have needed the race on soft ground. Back to firm ground, which she absolutely adores. It wouldn't surprise me if this horse finds the winner's circle at 5-2. Definitely using the pick 6 that begins with this race. But to recount my selection for the 6 from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Fillet Mare Turf. Let's take the number 4 horse Above the Curve as a top selection. We'll give kudos to the 9 horse Rougier and the 3 horse Nishawa. 4-9-3-5 Super. 4-9-3 in your multi-race to the 7th. The 7th from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Sprint. It's a grade 1 event going for a $2 million purse, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field here of 11 horses going to the Keeneland main track, the distance of ground of 1,200 meters or 6 furlongs on the Keeneland main track. 1,200 meters, 6 furlongs here in the sprint. My top selection, let's go to the number 2 horse Kamari as a top selection. Let's go 2-9-6-5 in the superfecta. 2-9-6-5 Super, top selection 2 horse Kamari, 5-year-old Mare by Munnings. Wesley Ward trains. Jose Ortiz gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 25th of September at Aqueduct. 6.5 furlongs in the grade 2 Gown Bloom Stakes, and the horse won by 1 1/4 lengths that day. Horse had a little bit of a wide trip from a wide post draw, but she settled well. She slowly moved her way up, and at 60 cents to the dollar, she got the job done. 106 buyer, career best that day. It was a very good, easy run. Perfect run you want to see coming facing the boys here today in the Breeders' Cup sprint. She likes this track. She's 3 for 2 on it, and I think she can improve. 2 back and honorable miss at Saratoga, 6 furlongs, 27th of July. She won by a half length that day, and she stuck. She got the lead after not the best beginnings that day, a little bit wide, but she got the job done, beating Frank Rockhead Home, who's running earlier in the card and is a decent mare. An all-around good race, finally going back to winning ways. Before then, the Derby City Distaff at Churchill, 7 furlongs, 7th of May. She finished 5th by 5 lengths, just had nothing, and absolutely nothing. She just stalked and never quickened up. Might have needed the race there. Her early season races were just flat. Before then, the Madison at Keeneland going 7 on the mud. She finished 3rd by 3 3/4 lengths that day, and she was just out-kicked by the others, just not showing up there. She won her seasonal reappearance at Goldstream, though, going 6.5 in the main special weight, optional 62 claimer, winning by 5 1/4 lengths. She got the job done at 5 cents to the dollar. She was supposed to win. She won quite easily. But, as the season gone on, she's been getting getting better, which I like. She's back to the home base. She's training incredibly well. If you go through all her workout patterns for the season, she's really peaking right now, I think. And like I said, she likes the track. She won the Madison here last year. She broke her main here a few years ago, and she just loves running here. She has a lot of pace in this one, and she has some good stalking pace, which I think should be good here with another horse that could possibly steal on the front end or crumble late. Who I'm going to take second is the 9-horse Jackie's Warrior. 4-year-old colt by McLean's Music. Steve Aspin trains. Joel Rosario gets the mount. Most recently in the 4-go at Saratoga, 7 furlongs, 27th of August. He finished second by 1.25 lengths that day, and I thought he just ran a little bit too fast on the front end. He got caught late by Cody's Wish, but he ran his heart out there. Coming here, he's definitely the fastest horse. Let's see how fast his pace could hold up. He won the Vanderbilt before that in a 105 buyer, won the True North in a 107 buyer, basically not moving a muscle, nearly breaking the track record, and won the Churchill Down Stakes by 4, earning a 105 buyer. His only subpar race recently was in last year's Breeders' Cup Sprint, where he got injured. He finished 6 by 4.5 lengths, and he just set the pace and then got caught by Aloha West. What can you do? He just couldn't keep up there. But I think this season is coming in a lot better. He has some good stability underneath him, and at 4 to 5, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets the job done. But 4 to 5 in the sprint, where he is going to face some fast horses, also has some, you have some kind of worries with him. But like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if he wins. But to recount my selection for the 7 from Keeneland, Breeders' Cup Sprint, let's take the 2-horse Kamari. Give kudos to the 9-horse Jackie's Warrior, 2965 Super, 2-9 in your multi-race. Let's get to the late pick for the 8th race from Keeneland. The 8th from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Mile. It's a grade 1 event going for a $2 million purse, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field here of, field of 16 horses entered, but only 14 could go to the Keeneland turf course. The distance of ground is 1,600 meters, or 1 mile here in the Breeders' Cup Mile. 1,600 meters, 1 mile here in the mile. This is always one of the most exciting races of the weekend. You just have to have a good trip in this race. That's the serious key. With that being said, I'm going to take a horse that hasn't started in a race since August of 2021. A lot has changed since then. I'm going to take the 14-horse Domestic Spending. I'm going to go 14-4-5-3 in the superfecta. 14-4-5-3 super. Top selection of 14-horse Domestic Spending. 5-year-old gelding by Kingman. Chad Brown trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. Like I said, he hasn't been seen since the 14th of August of 2021. That came at Arlington Park, that no longer runs racing. A mile and a quarter in the Mr. D Stakes, and he finished second by a neck that day. He stalked all the way around the race course, a little bit wide. He just couldn't catch 2 Emmys who had the jump on him, but he ran his heart out there going to a mile and a quarter, cutting back to a mile, training incredibly well coming to this race. Has some forwardly pace to get over. Probably won't be on. It's definitely not going to be on the front end, but get good mid-pack position here today from Y Postra. I think he could win. You need to have a good trip in the Breeders' Cup Mile, but Y Postras aren't always so bad. The winner 2 years ago, who's running back this one today, Order of Australia, won from Post 14 last time they ran the Breeders' Cup Mile here a couple of years ago. Before that, not a Keeneland, but a Santina. Who's that French horse? Caracanite won from 14 or 13. So it's not, you can win from out here, but you need to have a good trip. Also, he's trying to be the Haas, winning, a race off a long bench. But he has, if you go by his form in 2021 and in late 2020, he's a great horse. He won the Manhattan very nicely by 2 3/4 lengths, earning a 106 buyer, closing it from nowhere on an inner turf course at Belmont. Did not play towards closers very often. Before then, the Turf Classic at Churchill in the mile and the 8th. Horse won by a neck, getting there with a dead heat. An all-around good race there. And then prior to that, in the Hollywood Derby in November 2020 at Del Mar over the mile and the 8th, winning by a head. Had a horrible trip that day, but he got there in nick of time, and then won the Saratoga Oaks at Saratoga over the mile 3/16 in the summer of 2020 very, very nicely. He's a great horse. He's training well. Biggest question, can he run off the bench? That's going to be the $1 million question, or $2 million question in this race. I'm going to take him along with the number 4 horse here, the number 4 horse who is Modern Games. 3-year-old colt by DeBowie. Charlie Appy trains. William Buick gets the mount. Most recently in the QE2 Cup at Ascot, a mile on soft ground, 15th of October. The horse finished second by 1 1/4 lengths. He stalked. He closed up well in the final half furlong, but Bayside Boy just out-freaked him that day. This horse might have needed the race on soft ground. Coming here back to stateside, firm ground, which he absolutely adores, around 2 turns. I think he really run a good race. He ran one of the best turf races of the season in North America for a horse at Woodbine. 1 mile in the Woodbine Mile, winning by 5 1/4 lengths, closing up from nowhere that day. He was stupidly wide, and he kept going. An all-around good race, earning a 112 speed figure that day. And a really, really good run. And then probably behind one of the best milers in the world, Baid, in the Sussex Stakes over the mile. He finished second by 1 3/4 lengths. He just stalked, but Baid had a great jump on him. This horse just wasn't getting to him. And then the Parisian Pratt on soft ground. He just wasn't getting into it there. He doesn't really run well on soft ground. He likes to firm stuff like he saw in the Sussex Stakes, like he saw in the Woodbine Mile, like he saw in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile, where he won from the rail, where he had a good run. He did win the French Guineas on soft ground, but he was much the best that day, even after a horrible beginning. But coming here today, it wouldn't surprise me at 72 if he gets the job done. And also, we have to give a shot to the 5-horse Smooth Like Straight. He won he finished second in the Arlington Million at Churchill last a couple months ago, where he just couldn't keep up late, but he ran his heart out there behind Stanton. Before that, Shoemaker Mile, again, he just couldn't keep up from the front end, but he always runs these good races. It wouldn't surprise me if he could hold on for the mile trip. We'll use him at 10-1. And also the watch out for the European Invader, also the 3-horse Dream Lauper, this 5-year-old mare by Lupe de Vega. Last time out in the Prix de Moulin de Longchamp at Longchamp over the soft ground and going a mile, he won by 5 1/4 lengths and had the speed to win that day. A very good race being the boys. Before then, in the Nassau at Glorious Goodwood, just wasn't getting the mile and a quarter, and then get the mile and a quarter in the Curra Pretty Polly Stakes, but back to a mile on fastest ground. It wouldn't surprise me at 6-1 if this mare gets the job done. Let's use her to begin this pick 4 in this very wide open mile. But to recount my selection for the 8th race from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Mile. As a top selection, we're going to take the 14-horse Domestic Spending, give kudos to the 4-horse Modern Games and the 5-horse Smooth Like Straight and the 3-horse Dream Loper. 14, 5, 3 Super. Let's use all 4 of them to start off this pick 4. To the 9th race now. The 9th race, it is the Breeders' Cup Distaff. It's a Grade 1 event going for a $2 million purse. Races for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 8 horses going to the main track. The distance of ground of 1,800 meters, or a mile and 1/8 here in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. 1,800 meters, 1 mile 1/8 here. My top selection here, I love the number 6 horse here. The number 6 horse Nest. Let's go 6-1-8-4 in the superfecta. 6-1-8-4 Super, top selection, and I'm going to single her in the multi-race, the 6-horse Nest. 3-year-old Philip by Curlin, Tom Pletcher trains. Irada Tease Jr. gets the mount. I know she's 9-5 in this race, but she's very, like I said, I love her. Most recently in the Beldame at Aqueduct, mile 8th on the 9th of October. She won by 9 3/4 lengths that day, and she slowly moved her way from the back up to the front end. When she got the lead, she basically won for fun. It was a paid workout, a 101 buyer, a very good run there. 2 back in the Alabama at Saratoga, mile and a quarter, 20th of August. She won by 4 1/4 lengths that day. And again, she sat back early after hitting the gate going out of it. It was a little bit wide, but she grinded it out, beating Secret Oath home. A very good race there. And then probably her best race lifetime came in the coaching club American Oaks at Saratoga, mile and 8th on the 23rd of July. She won by 12 1/4 lengths that day. She sat back early, a little bit wide, but when she got to the front end, she just kept going. A very dominant performance there. One of the best performances of the summer at Saratoga. And then facing the boys at Belmont, a mile and a half in the Belmont Derby. She finished second by 3 lengths that day. She stalked. She nearly got to Mo Donegal, but again, she didn't break at the beginning, which maybe cost her the victory, but she ran her heart out there. She's bred for the mile and a half. She curling with the AP Indy on the dam side. I think she has the speed to win. She started once here at Keeneland in the past. They came in earlier in the year in the Ashland on wet fast going. Win by 8 1/4 lengths, closing up from nowhere in a hand drive. She got the job done. She's been dominant all season long. Coming here, training well, at 9-5. I'm going to single her in that late pick 4. So to recount my selection for the night from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Let's take the 6-horse Nest, 6-1-8-4 Super. Let's single her in that pick 4. To the turf, race number 10. The 10th race from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Turf. It's a Grade 1 event going for a $4 million purse, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a baker's dozen, 13 horses going to the starting gate. The distance of ground here of 2,400 meters, or the distance of ground of a mile and a half on the Keeneland turf course. 2,400 meters, a mile and a half here on the turf. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 11 horse Mishirif. I'm going to go 11-13-2-4 in the superfecta. 11-13-2-4 super. Top selection 11 horse Mishirif. 5-year-old horse by Make Believe. John Gosden trains one. Frankie Dettori gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in the Group 1 Prix de Arc de Triomphe at Longchamp. Mile and a half soft ground, 2nd of October. He finished 13th by 18 lengths there, and he just never showed up. He absolutely hates soft ground, absolutely hates it. If you go through all his races on soft ground, he doesn't show up. He's gonna absolutely adore firm ground today. He's gonna have to overcome a wide trip, but I think he has the speed and the stamina to win here today in his season finale. He's only won $15 million in his lifetime, so he's a decent horse. Two back, he ran the Irish Champions at Leopardstown, a mile and a quarter soft ground, 10th of September. He finished 4th by 4.5 lengths that day, and again, on the soft ground, he just never was getting a handle of it there. And then the Germania International at York, mile 5/16 on good ground. He finished 2nd by best miler in the world, I think, by E that day. He just was on the front end. He got caught late. He got outgained by another horse. And then before that, in the King George at Ascot over the mile and a half, he finished 3rd by 10 quarter lengths that day. And he basically lost on the at the gate because he didn't break going out of it, and he just never really showed up that day. The winner, Piles Rava, really won it on the front end. And then before then, the Coral Eclipse on fast ground over the mile and a quarter, finished 2nd by a neck. Again, he didn't break so well, had a horrible trip, but he got there, for the place. But he wants to go a mile and a half. He wants the firm ground. He's going to get it today. He gets Frankie up for the first time in quite a while. I think this horse could find the winner's circle. I think this is Frankie's best chance to win this weekend. It wouldn't surprise me if the 13-horse Highland Chief gets the job done. 5-year-old horse by Glen Eagles, Grand Motion trains. John Velazquez gets the mount. Kind of main sequence here. But most recently in the Sycamore Keeneland, a mile and a half on the 14th of October, the horse went by a length and had a dream trip from the inside. He stalked, and when the gap opened, he quickened up. He went away with it first off the bench. Coming back here, going to have to overcome a wide post trip, but has some forwardly pace to get over, and I think he could get a good trip first run late. Two back in the Bowling Green at Saratoga, mile 3/8 on the 31st July. He finished 4th by 3 3/4 lengths that day. He didn't break so well. He was a little bit wide, and he just, kind of hit the wall. The speed really held up that day, Rock Emperor and Arklow. And then prior to that, in the Manhattan at Belmont, a mile and a quarter, 11th of June, he finished 4th by 4 3/4 lengths. Again, he had a very horrible trip from wide post drop, bumped early, a little bit wide. He moved a little bit late, but it wasn't anything spectacular. And then prior to that, in the Man of War at Belmont, a mile 3/8 there. He won by a length from a track position, a little bit wide, but he got the job done, beating Gufo and You'll Be Your Home. Two decent horses, so he beat quality horses there, earning a 105 buyer, which is his career best. Since coming stateside, he's really run these better numbers. He's another horse since coming stateside. He's really improved with the firm ground. He's gonna have to overcome that wide post drop at 15-1 in a wide open race. It wouldn't surprise me here. And it also wouldn't surprise me if the number 2 horse here, or like Goddess, the filly, or the mare gets the job done. Joel Rosario gets them out for Belmont. Most recently, the Joe Hurst at Aqueduct over the mile and a half. It won by 2 3/4 lengths in a 105 career best buyer. The horse basically put on a show that day from a track position. Before then, the Flower Bowl, this horse would have improved going a mile and a half, but she only got a mile 3 furlongs that day. She finished 2nd by a neck behind Virginia Joy, who just, had the jump on her late, but she ran her hard out there. They had the option to go into the Philly Mare race earlier in the card, but they didn't want to because she wants to go a mile and a half. That's her preferred trip. She's getting it today. Her buyer's up to scratch. It wouldn't surprise me at 9-2 if she gets the job done. It's going to be the best price you've got on her in quite a while, so you better take it here. The last time she was a decent price like this was the Orchid of 2021 at Gulfstream, going a mile 3/8, where she won by a nose, closing up from nowhere. Since then, she's been dominant. She's 2 for 2 on this turf course. She won the Bewitched last year on this turf course and this year. Last year's performance, was just a little bit better. But coming in this race, training well on the Oklahoma track at Saratoga, watch out for her. But to recount my selection for the 10th from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Turf. Let's take the 11-horse Mashirif as a top selection. Give kudos to the 3-horse Highland Chief and the 2-horse Warlike Goddess. 11-13-2-4 Super. 11-13-2 in your pick 4 multi-race. Let's get to the 11th race from Keeneland. The 11th race from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Classic. It's a Grade 1 event going for a $6 million purse, races for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 8 horses going to the starting gate, the distance of ground of 2,000 meters, or a mile and 1/4 on the Keeneland main track. 2,000 meters, a mile 1/4 here in the Breeders' Cup Classic. My top selection, I'm going to take a shot with the 6-horse Epicenter. I'm going to go 6-4-1-2 in the superfecta. 6-4-1-2 super. Top selection, 6-horse Epicenter. Before I get any further, this is the scenario I see. I could see Flightline getting challenged by Life is Good, and Life is Good hitting the wall, and Epicenter picking up the pieces from a tracking position. That's my scene to seeing Epicenter win. 3-year-old colt by Not This Time. Steve Asperson trains. Joel Rosario gets him out 5-1 here. Most recently, the Travers at Saratoga over the mile and a quarter. The horse won by 5 1/4 lengths. Sitting back early, he slowly moved his way up, and he got the job done. A dominant 112 Beyer speed figure performance. He's going to have to improve on that performance today to win, but he ran his heart out there. 2 back in the Jim Dandy at Saratoga, mile and 8, 30th of July. The horse won by 1.5 lengths. He only had 3 other rivals that day, but he sat back early. He swung wide, and he basically won in a jog. A very, very good run there. And then prior to that in the Preakness, a very weird ride, I thought, at Pimlico by Rosario. Mile 3/16 on the 21st of May. He finished second by 1/4 lengths. Early voting stole on the front end. This horse should have challenged him, but he didn't. He just kind of stalked. He moved a little bit late, but, early voting, like I said, just walked there. And then the Kentucky Derby at Churchill, mile quarter. Finished second by 3/4 length. He closed up. He got the lead. It looked like he was going to win, but then Rich Strike closed up from the clouds to win that day. But he ran just as good as Rich Strike, earning that 100th Beyer. He just didn't get the winner's circle photo, but again, he ran his heart out there. And then one of the better races also was the Louisiana Derby at the Fairgrounds over the mile 3/16, won by 1.5 lengths. Again, he kept going. He has a lot of stamina here today. He's posted a 112 Beyer. He's going to have to improve off that Beyer, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets the job done here. But it also wouldn't surprise me if Flightline jogs on the front end. 4-year-old colt by Tappet. John Sadler trains. Flavian Pratt gets them out. Most recently in the Pacific Classic, he won by 19 1/4 lengths, 126 Beyer. One of the best performances of the 21st century. He basically, won it there easily, but he's going to have a lot of challenge. I think that day. I can't see Life is Good not going down without a fight. I could see Irad sending him, and it wouldn't surprise me with the pace pressure if he crumbles late. He's going to see for the first time probably some pace pressure. 2 back in the Metropolitan Handicap Belmont, 1 mile, the 11th of June. The horse won by 6 lengths that day. First start coming East Coast. The horse, again, just stalked, took off clear. A very good, easy run. Won the Malibu before that very easily. Won an optional claimer at Del Mar last year very easily, and broke the main at Santina in April 2021 very, very easily. His Beyers have been 105, 114, 118, 112, 126. It wouldn't surprise me. Can he run a 130 Beyer today? I don't think so. I think if somebody beats him today, they might run a 130 Beyer. But him, he could go back 10 Beyer points and still win on paper. But he's a good horse here. Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if he wins in a jog. But like I said, I can't see them going very easy early on with him and letting him take the race on the front end, because if they do that, he's going to win by a mile. But they did that with Nick Sko last year. But like I said, I think the race fits up for Epicenter. I think he's been going under the radar a little bit. Like I said, I think Tabia is sitting on a good run. I don't know if it's today though. Most recently the Pennsylvania Derby, won by 3 lengths, second off the bench. He took off clear from a wide pit trip. On a track you want to stay a little wide. Before that, needed the Haskell, where he just couldn't catch Saberknife, who outgamed this horse. And then I thought they were asking a little bit too much in the Derby. I think he has a good career. Is he going to win today? He needs things to fall in place to win. Like I said, I would bet maybe next time out in the Malibu. But to recap my selection for the 11th from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Classic, the $6 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's take as a little bit of an upsetter the 6-horse Epicenter. Give kudos to the 4-horse Flightline. 6-4-1-2 super. We'll go 6-4 in your multi-race here. Like I said, I think it's a 2-horse race here. So good luck to all. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kit 5 for more selections for race courses around the world. Good luck, everybody.